One stanza of America. Pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend Arthur England.
Let us pray. Almighty God, fountain of all that in man is true and lovely, creator of all that in man is high and noble, sustainer of all that in him forever reaches upward and forward for the good of others, we thank thee for this occasion, conceived and projected by a grateful community. We bless thee for the cause of this great happiness, the life of thy servant Arthur. For all his community services so finely wrought, for his achievements so honorably attained, for his faith in thyself and man, we thank thee. But most of all, that his spirit and influence have touched so many lives to such high and fine issues, we devoutly bless thy name, Lord of his adoring trust, and sweet companion of his ways. Bless this occasion, to the end that we may all truly rejoice with him, and that in the recognition and honor of greatness in our midst, we may go forth cleaner, stronger, better men and women. Let the food of thy good earth nourish us in health, and this fellowship in love nourish us in divine faith. Amen.
I've got a longing way down in my heart for yellow and leather drifting apart. They were the best pals that I ever had. I never thought that I'd want them so well. See what I give the world to see, that old and old mine. I can't forget that old portrait, that very sweet Adeline. Goodbye forever, old fellows and girls. Goodbye forever, old sweethearts and pals. Flowers and trees, I give the world to see that old and old mine. Ladies and gentlemen, and friends of Arthur Hendrickson, we had one of many great problems in trying to decide what to do at this speaker's table, because scores of people offered to have testimonials presented. The committee decided that the best way would be to have the representatives of our three major religions to come to the speaker's table and convey greetings to Arthur. When each of these clergymen was told that he would have 1 minute to respond to his introduction, almost every one of them said words to the effect of, "What a trick to play on a clergyman." But unfortunately, we have had to do that in order that our formalities will 45 or 50 minutes. But I assure you it has been a great task to attempt to work a program of this importance into a time schedule that is so limited. We are fortunate tonight in having a representative from the original Valley Stream Church, the church which was the church of the Hendrickson family. And although it is outside the confines of the incorporated village, it was and is still known as a Valley Stream church. It is more than 100 years old. The Hendrickson family worshiped there, and then, of course, as the village progressed, individuals struck out from St. John's Methodist Church, which is now in Elmont, and organized that famous church which stood where Wheeler Avenue School now stands. And that church had the very sanctimonious name, unofficially, of Sinner's Hope. But before Sinner's Hope, St. John's Methodist Church was the Valley Stream place of worship. And we have here tonight Reverend and Mrs. Arthur England of St. John's Methodist Church. Reverend and Mrs. England.
One of his biographers says of the greatest of history's men that he took men with him, but he went on a little further. Is not this that which distinguishes his life, whom we are here to honor? As his pastor and friend, I think so. He has taken men with him, and he knows how to do that. But he himself has gone on a little further in his work. By that untiring extra pull beyond the requirements of mere duty and the more than was expected of him, he has led his great company to its present position of singular service to our island, to our state, and even to our nation. How many have been blessed by that? In his citizenship, by taking to his heart and upon his shoulders the needs and values of his community, laboring at their fulfillment while others slept or just muddled along, he has lived out a remarkable story of splendid American citizenship. And in his character, by taking the honorable, the right, the good as his dynamic and dominating motivation, he has built up for himself a character and a spirit of humility, kindness, selflessness, magnanimity, and steadfastness in all the things that matter a lot. I think it is not too great a tribute to him, and he will permit me to say it, that he has been a moment in the conscience of this community. And all these elements have so combined in him that we tonight stand up and proudly and gratefully say, here is a man.
Thank you, Pastor England. The other church of the Hendrickson family, the church in which Arthur Hendrickson holds membership, is Grace Methodist Church, of which Reverend Kenneth Richards is pastor. Reverend Kenneth Richards of Grace Methodist Church.
Mr. Chairman, members of the clergy, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As you have heard, the speakers of the evening have been given 1 minute.
45 or 50 minutes. But I assure you it has been a great task to attempt to work a program of this importance into a time schedule that is so limited. We are fortunate tonight in having a representative from the original Valley Stream Church, the church which was the church of the Hendrickson family. And although it is outside the confines of the incorporated village, it was and is still known as a Valley Stream church. It is more than 100 years old. The Hendrickson family worshiped there, and then, of course, as the village progressed, individuals struck out from St. John's Methodist Church, which is now in Elmont, and organized that famous church which stood where Wheeler Avenue School now stands. And that church had the very sanctimonious name, unofficially, of Sinner's Hope. But before Sinner's Hope, St. John's Methodist Church was the Valley Stream place of worship. And we have here tonight Reverend and Mrs. Arthur England of St. John's Methodist Church. Reverend and Mrs. England.
One of his biographers says of the greatest of history's men that he took men with him, but he went on a little further. Is not this that which distinguishes his life, whom we are here to honor? As his pastor and friend, I think so. He has taken men with him, and he knows how to do that. But he himself has gone on a little further in his work. By that untiring extra pull beyond the requirements of mere duty and the more than was expected of him, he has led his great company to its present position of singular service to our island, to our state, and even to our nation. How many have been blessed by that? In his citizenship, by taking to his heart and upon his shoulders the needs and values of his community, laboring at their fulfillment while others slept or just muddled along, he has lived out a remarkable story of splendid American citizenship. And in his character, by taking the honorable, the right, the good as his dynamic and dominating motivation, he has built up for himself a character and a spirit of humility, kindness, selflessness, magnanimity, and steadfastness in all the things that matter a lot. I think it is not too great a tribute to him, and he will permit me to say it, that he has been a moment in the conscience of this community. And all these elements have so combined in him that we tonight stand up and proudly and gratefully say, here is a man.
Thank you, Pastor England. The other church of the Hendrickson family, the church in which Arthur Hendrickson holds membership, is Grace Methodist Church, of which Reverend Kenneth Richards is pastor. Reverend Kenneth Richards of Grace Methodist Church.
Mr. Chairman, members of the clergy, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As you have heard, the speakers of the evening have been given 1 minute. And how can anybody who knows Arthur Hendrickson say what is in his mind and on his heart regarding this man within 1 minute of time? I do, however, want to thank the committee in charge of this testimonial dinner for giving me the privilege of being present on this extraordinary occasion and of participating in the program. I want to thank Arthur, our guest of honor, for his friendship and his help to me across the years we have known. I also want to express to him and to his brothers, Frank and Freeman, my own personal thanks and the thanks of the parish of the Grace Methodist Church in Valley Stream for all that they have meant to and done for the Grace Methodist Church, of which I have the honor to be pastor. The family name Hendrickson is written large into the history of the Grace Methodist Church. For having examined those records quite often across the 28 years of my pastorate here, I have discovered that Arthur's father was a trustee of the Grace Methodist Church, and his mother was superintendent of the primary department of the Sunday school in the early years of the Grace Methodist Church. And the Hendrickson family has done much to make the Grace Methodist Church the strong church that it is today. This morning, while reading in my study, I picked up a little magazine that comes to me monthly from a business corporation. It is sent to me by my son, who happens to be a business executive. And as I was reading through, I came across a little poem entitled Worth. And there are some lines in this poem that are so appropriate for this particular occasion. When you think of a man, you seldom think of the knowledge he has of books. You seldom think of the clothes he wears, his habits, or ways, or looks. You think of the friend he has been to man, and the good that he has done, and you judge the sort of a man he is by the many friends he has won. And I think that that is perfectly true concerning Arthur Hendrickson. And I personally am very happy that his friends have seen to it that while he is still with us, his work for his community and for the county is being appreciated by his friends and by those who know him. In conclusion, Arthur, for you and I are members of that great fraternity called Kiwanis, so I call you by your first name. Arthur, it is my sincere wish that God will give you many more years of life, and thus many more years of service to your community, to your county, and to the things that are closest to your heart.
Representing Congregation Gates of Zion, with us tonight are Rabbi and Mrs. Simon Resnicott.
I am honored to be here this evening, insomuch as I am comparatively new to the Valley Stream community. It has not been my privilege to make a very personal acquaintance with Mr. Hendrickson. I have met him, I am sorry to say, superficially. Yet I feel that I can lend my voice to those who are paying tribute to him this evening. I was speaking with Father Kelly, who is sitting on my left. He told me what he knew of Mr. Hendrickson. And one of the things which he said, which I feel is most significant, is that here we have a man who is humble. And when I heard the Reverend Richard speak of him as a man who has very definite spiritual proclivities, I could not help but think what we need in our world today are men who are humble and men who are spiritually inclined. These are difficult times. And if our communities can produce Americans who are dedicated to the welfare and the well-being of the community, then the hope for the future of the American community, I pray and I hope, is guaranteed. Need I say a word of tribute when you people, you men and women who are assembled here this evening, represent the greatest tribute that can be paid to a man? This gathering, this spontaneous tribute to a neighbor, to a resident of the community, is motivated, I am confident, by a feeling that there is a need to let Mr. Hendrickson know that the community appreciates the great contribution which he has made to its welfare. When all is said and done and we look back upon our lives, if we can say that we have given something of ourselves, something of our ability and talent to our fellow men, then and then only are we justified in saying we have lived meaningfully. Our purpose on earth has been justified. Mr. Hendrickson, I believe on the basis of what I have heard from fellow neighbors, members of this community, is just such a man. And for that reason I am happy, honored, and privileged to add my voice to the voices of those who speak in his honor this evening.
Since each of the other religions received 2 invitations, of course, 2 tickets were sent to the Holy Name of Mary Church. We're going to hear from 2 individuals from that church. This will prove, of course, that we have no discrimination. Another one of the newcomers in the clergy to Valley Stream is Reverend Joseph P. Butler of Holy Name of Mary Roman Catholic Church. Reverend Butler.
Though a very newcomer to Valley Stream, for many years before coming to Valley Stream, I heard much of the virtues of our guest of honor. And one of the thoughts that went through my mind as I sat here this evening was this: if I may make a suggestion to Mr. Ward for the future, I think that the next testimonial to Mr. Hendrickson should be held in Madison Square Garden. Because I believe, from what I'm able to observe, that the many individuals here tonight are only representatives of large groups who would otherwise have been here had there been more room. As the pastor of Holy Name of Mary Church, I feel highly honored and privileged to bring to Mr. Hendrickson the best wishes and congratulations of our parish. Although not being very personally acquainted with Mr. Hendrickson, I know he has done some very fine things for our parish. And if God will bless him, only nearly so much as the prayers of our clergy and people wish for him is to be most blessed indeed. Now, I was delighted to hear the observation of the previous speaker concerning the humility of our... As a matter of fact, just previous to his entrance, I heard the observation that Mr. Hendrickson will be most embarrassed because he is so humble. To me, that is the greatest tribute that can be paid to any human being. For we know that as pride is the root of all evil, the contrary to pride, humility is the root of all goodness. And surely a man of humility is a man after God's own heart. God bless you, Mr. Hendrickson, you and yours and love.
And now the second representative of Holy Name of Mary Church is Father Thomas Kelly. Father Kelly.
I never thought the day would arrive when I would stand up in front of an audience with a flower in my lapel. But anything to honor Arthur Hendrickson. And I might also say to please the fairer sex who pinned it on my lapel. It really is an honor to come here tonight and pay tribute to a real friend, Arthur. I've known him for quite a few years, and many qualities have stood out which made me admire him. But I think one that stood out the most was the fact that he was a man of very few, but yet well-chosen words. And in this he's different from most prominent men. And the same difference exists between him and them as exists between the minute and the hour hands on a clock. One goes 12 times as fast, but the other one signifies 12 times as much. As regards Arthur's charity, it's known really only to us members of the cloth. We have seen it, and we certainly know that it goes deeper than any of you there tonight realize. As regards his humility, all the other speakers stole what I was going to say about him. But I think it could be all summed up in this one poem. Of manners gentle and affection mild, in mind a man, humility a child. May God bless.
I know how difficult it is for these clergymen to say even a small fraction of what they wish to say in a minute. And that's the reason, of course, that the minutes have stretched into 3 and 4. We have here one person who has worked in this community on committees to form and manage and operate testimonials, inductions, and banquets of all kinds. And after having the privilege of working with this person for 8 or 10 years, I have the privilege tonight, as you have, of witnessing the first time that the co-chairman of this committee has ever sat to a meal in a banquet upon which she served, or for which she served, as committee man or chairman. And it really is an accomplishment. As Father Kelly said, it takes Arthur Hendrickson to place a carnation on his lapel. It also required Arthur Hendrickson to put Harriet Fredericks in her place. And even though she is uneasy, I want to introduce to you the co-chairman of this committee and have her greet you, Harriet Frederick.
All that I can say is that I consider it a great honor and a privilege, Arthur, to do this for you. I know that you're going to enjoy every moment of it as I have. Thank you very much.
You see, Harriet was on the spot. Being one of the committee and helping to make these regulations, she had to stay under a minute. So long as we are speaking about Harriet and the committee, I want herewith to thank all the other members of the committee, those individuals whom you have seen hurrying about this room tonight with the blue ribbons on their coats. They have done a great job, and I am greatly obliged to them, as I know Harriet is. And I extend to them the thanks of all of us. I presume, since we limited the clergy to 1 minute, and I discovered that minutes sometime run into 400 seconds, now that we have limited our mayor to 5 minutes, you know, after all my efforts to put that fellow in his place, even now I'm failing. These clergymen embarrass me when they start talking about Mr. Hendrickson, and I've been calling him Arthur all evening, but I know that's the way he's known in the community. In the same vein, our mayor is known to us in the Kiwanis Club, and of course you'll forget this as soon as the session is over, as Uncle Henry. Uncle Henry has a few words to say. I know it will take him a great deal of perseverance to fulfill 5 minutes of it. But once again, I warn Uncle Henry that he's limited to 5 minutes to present to you the sentiments officially of the village of Valley Stream. Mayor Henry Waldinger.
Thank you very much. Guest of honor, Mrs. Hendrickson, Reverend clergy, and us fortunate friends of Arthur Hendrickson. I say fortunate because I even want to go a step further than the Reverend Butler did when he said Madison Square Garden. Now, if we figured out all the places of public assembly in Nassau County, they wouldn't be large enough to accommodate all the friends of Arthur Hendrickson. It's been my great privilege to have known him personally for just a little over 30 years. And in that time, I've enjoyed every minute of his friendship and on many, many occasions sought his valuable advice. He has been a great friend to the people of Valley Stream. When I looked at that picture on my right of the old horse and wagon there and Arthur standing there, it reminded me of the pioneers of America. And like those pioneers, Arthur had faith. Faith in God, faith in his country, and faith in Valley Stream. Ladies and gentlemen, I could take up much more than 5 minutes in telling you of all the good things that Arthur has done for our fast-growing community. We always concede that we have an ace up our sleeves as long as Hendrickson Brothers is with us. Because in an emergency, we have called upon him, and he's given us almost everything he could give us when he could have got premium prices for it in other places. Arthur is never more happy when he is doing something for somebody else. And I know that, and I can speak of that personally. Never more happy than when he is doing things for somebody else. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try to keep this to 5 minutes, but it's very difficult. I like to put life in 2 classifications. One is where the fellow takes a full cup and drains and squeezes every last drop out of that cup for his own selfish purpose. Arthur, on the other hand, portrays the other type of man, who starts with an empty cup and tries to fill that cup. Fill that in behalf of not of himself, but of his fellow men. Arthur and Mrs. Hendrickson and your good brothers, may I wish you a full measure of happiness and good health. These are the world's greatest treasures. And may I say in conclusion, I think I'm just about reached my time, and borrow just a few words from another very distinguishing and very, very great American. When I say this, what we say here may soon be forgotten. What Arthur has done here will live in the minds and the hearts of the people of Valley Stream just so long as there is a Valley Stream. Thank you very much.
Uncle Henry, all the bad things I ever said about you, I take back. He even gave us a minute and a quarter to spare. And I know very well that was an effort. Arthur, the ladies at this dais, on the dais tonight, the ladies of this guest table, have received violets in honor of your wife, Violet Hendrickson. We could say sweets to the sweets and violets to the violets, or violets to violet. But we're going to do the well-known thing of today. We're going to make a switch. We're going to say roses to violets, because we have a bouquet of roses to give to Violet Hendrickson.
I hope you're all as happy as I am at this moment, and proud, too, of my husband. And thank you very much, and have fun.
Last fall, Arthur Hendrickson surrendered the operation of Hendrickson Brothers Corporation to the capable capacities of his brothers and son and nephews. And Arthur set out for the South to enjoy a respite from the civic and business responsibilities that had comprised his work life for more than 40 years. His absence from the customary round of activities was noted, but no one became greatly concerned beyond the passing observation that if Arthur was on vacation, it was undeniably long overdue. As the days wore on, it became evident that this trip was beginning to assume proportions far more extensive than just a holiday. Arthur's friends and acquaintances began to display real anxiety. Some thought that Arthur had finally forsaken his beloved Valley Stream. Others feared that he was seriously ill. There were innumerable conjectures. No one could conceive that this man of labor was truly only on vacation. Arthur's family and relatives and his intimate associates, on the other hand, were subjected to a polite but increasing inquisition. It was absolutely incredible that Mr. Valley Stream would dare to desert his domain for the simple purpose of a vacation. As we know now, at the end of January, Arthur returned from what had developed to be the longest time from business he has ever experienced. Actually, it was only the second genuine vacation of his entire life. an expression that is patent to all of us is that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And this episode did just that. Valley Streamers, who had come to regard Arthur Hendrickson as an immovable fixture in the community, began to learn just what it means to be without him. The comforting and stabilizing security which his mere presence creates was unprecedentedly unavailable. Instead, there was an intangible and very distressing void. If Arthur could visualize how much he was missed,